Hey guys, welcome back to the Dialed In Podcast. Thank you so much for watching. Today we have Anna and we have Kerrie, both returning callers. So this is very, very cool. In fact, we've all gotten back from Squad Up. We were just talking about what we learned from Squad Up and the fun stuff and the networking opportunities that we had. And we're excited to get back into the office today. So both of you have been given a list. We're going to start some calling here in a second. Before we do that, though, Anna, can you introduce yourself? Where are you from? What are you looking to accomplish in 2025?
Hi, I'm Anna Lacy, and I'm in the central coast of California, San Luis Obispo County. I want to get my first subto deal in the next 2 months and want to have the follow-up at least 2 more within 12 months and continue to start networking and go from there. So I guess that's about it.
Put it out there. Who do you want to connect with in either our Subto community or outside of our Subto community that can help you grow? What types of people are those?
Gators for sure. I'm also a top tier TC finisher, graduate. I definitely need coffee. And so I would also love to get that going too. But yeah, so anybody who I can collaborate with to add value and, make some deals happen.
Well, I'm glad that you're here today because we have another very, very strong woman here, Kerrie Deragon from Philly. Kerrie, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yes, I'm Mike. I have been in the real estate business over 25 years. I've been a licensed realtor and bought my first flip about 10 years ago, and I've been doing flips and wholesales and joined Subto about 1.5 years ago. And I am looking to buy wraps. I lost my train of thought, but I enjoy calling sellers and calling agents and getting deals under contract and then, converting them into wraps and helping, with affordable housing, helping, sellers that sellers that can't sell and buyers that are having trouble, getting approved.
Yeah, that's a great point, Kerrie, because I think that the goal for all three of us here, when done correctly, is helping people on all sides, right? Especially if we're calling agents, we want to help agents sell their deals. We want to help sellers get out of maybe a stickier situation or maybe even give them a little bit more money than they would with a conventional sale. And then, of course, on the back end of it, how do we dispo the property? What is our goal? And that's going to change between the three of us. I love wraps. It sounds like the two of you guys do as well. But given the opportunity for someone to buy a house who doesn't traditionally qualify, I think is a fantastic thing. So very, very cool. I'm glad that we're doing this all together, and we're also doing it ethically and morally. So you guys know the routine. Both of you guys have been here before. What's interesting, by the way, I was thinking about this, Kerrie, when you were talking. It's interesting when I throw it to you and I have you introduce yourself. If you've been here a few times before, we find ourselves saying the same thing, right? I'm Kerrie from Philadelphia. I'm an agent. I had one guy come in one day, and he just decided to switch it up. He's like, look, I've been here 4 or 5 times. I'm just going to tell you something that, I've done in the past. And he said that he was the chief of psychology at the Austin VA, wow, which is really interesting because my wife was the chief of psychology at the Long Beach VA. So wow, we connected for the next hour on that. It's always nice to kind of put something else out there, you find other things to connect to. So thank you guys so much for doing that.
I'm not good at doing that. I need to get better too.
Sometimes I feel limited, right? It's like I don't have a whole lot to offer.
That's not true.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes. Sometimes it's true.
I have a lot to offer, but I beat myself up all the time. I'm always busy beating myself up and telling myself, what I did wrong and what I should do, what I don't do, So
Kerrie,
it's a work in progress.
I think one thing that Anna failed to mention about the time that she and I connected at Squad Up was that I went to the bar to get away from everybody. And I think you could probably recognize that, right, Anna? I was like, head forward, give me my food and a drink, and I just want to focus. Mm-hmm. Just a funny little connection. Then I turned over and I was like, oh my gosh, you're right there. Holy smokes.
I was like, I can't believe he's right there. I was hoping to see you, and then there you were.
That's
Well,
so funny.
you
When-
found
was
me
this Friday night?
typically where I find myself sometimes. So it was good.
I would have done the same thing. I didn't get there until Saturday, which explains why I missed you.
Yeah.
I changed my flight from Thursday to Saturday because I just had too much to do here. I've been taking care
The
of my
whole thing
uncle.
was a lot. If you did the Friday to Monday, oh my gosh, that looked
Oh, yeah.
exhausting.
It was exhausting.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Well,
When I
welcome
went
back.
to- Thank you.
Let's
went
get
up
to
early.
making some. What's that, Kerrie?
I said I went up early Saturday, Sunday night, and I could hear tons of chatter, tons and tons of chatter. And I look over the balcony, and it was just wall to wall people. They were out there till like 2:00 in the morning. I was like, oh, I can't. I should, but I can't.
Yeah, I know that's when
Anyway.
some interesting networking happened.
Mm-hmm.
Alcohol fueled. So let's get to making some phone calls. You guys have the list as always. These leads are 20% or less equity, 6% or less interest rate. The idea here, just because they are brand new listings, is to build that relationship. See if this is an option either for now or for in the future, or for another property down the line. So, we found a lot of these opportunities translate into relationships. We may not close on this deal, but we work on something together in the future with this agent. So, let's start dialing. Anna, good luck today. Kerrie, good luck as well. And let's see who we can get in touch with today.
And are we calling in any? We're just going to go randomly.
Great point. Thanks for bringing that up. Kerrie, you want to start at the top or the bottom?
I'll start at the top if Anna's okay with that.
That's fine.
Otherwise, I can
Okay.
do the bottom.
No,
Perfect.
I'm good.
Awesome. That way you guys can meet in the middle. We won't have time to make all, I think there's 50 or so leads from today. But let's see how many we can get through.
Okay. Sounds good.
Is that the Doberman or is that Kerrie's dog?
It was probably mine. I'm going to mute myself for now.
It's a loud bark. Not a bad thing. It's just a very aggressive bark. I love it.
She's a big girl.
Al, Alturas Drive, and I hope I said that right. I just had some questions for you. My number is 215.
Mike, is it an issue if it's only been on Zillow for like a day or so?
They're all like that right here. So that's kind of intentional.
Okay.
The reason that I always pulled this data is because it does give us the opportunity to build that relationship before everybody else starts calling. A lot of people are calling the 90-day plus or whatever. What I've found is that I've done a lot of deals pre 20-day on market. And it also allows me to do a lot of things with respect to positioning myself against everyone else who's going to call about 10 days later, because I can predict it. When that data hits PropStream, for example, and it goes to everybody, I can tell the agent that this is what they should expect if this is their first time doing this type of a listing. So I like the fact that I can position myself against everybody else.
Yeah, and I love your energy when you're talking to them. It's always, easygoing and casual and friendly.
It's exhaustion after squat up is what it is.
I hear you.
We had storms Monday night in Philadelphia, so I didn't even land until after 1 o'clock in the morning. So it was like I went all day until 3 o'clock, went to the airport, got on my flight, and I had a transfer. I went to Michigan and then an hour flight over to Philly. But I just sat in Michigan for a couple hours because we couldn't land in Philly. And then
It was so nice being able to drive to Squat Up this year.
Yeah.
I'm very thankful, although parking at that hotel was nuts.
Was it?
After 15 minutes, it was like $37. So I risked it. I parked across the street and walked over.
And you were fine.
Yeah.
Did you stay at the hotel?
Hi.
Couldn't get in, so I had to stay downtown at some La Quinta.
Okay.
It was a rough place.
Was it? It sounds like it.
Yeah, I may have gotten tetanus or something. I don't know. We'll see.
Oh my gosh.
I'm kidding, by the way.
I know. I did that once before when I was going out to Arizona and staying at some place, and I was like, oh my God, I had the heebie-jeebies so bad.
Tilly, leave him alone.
Hi, you've just reached Sharika.
My name is Kerrie Deragon. I'm calling regarding your listing on, is it 60 75th Yes. Sure. It's in Roy, and it just says 2910 West 6075th. South. 6,000 South, yes. Sorry about that. Do you have a couple of minutes? I just wanted to ask you a couple of questions. Okay. I just wanted to tell you basically what my company does. We work with buyers that are having a hard time getting qualified because they they don't have any. They either work for themselves or they have excellent credit and they have a down payment. And so we look for properties where the seller might be interested in doing some type of creative financing. I'm not sure if you're, I don't know if they have a. Yeah, I'm looking here. It doesn't look like they have a whole lot of equity, in the house, unfortunately, because I guess the market has changed a little bit.
Well, I'm not. So, what I can do is I can check with them and see how they want to move forward on that, and then
Okay, all right. That would be great. Are they relocating for a job?
No, this comes vacant.
Oh, okay. Was it a rental?
No.
They already moved.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right. I can explain the process to you if you're curious how it is that we work.
I would just probably, if Greg has questions, we work together as a team, and he's my broker. So if he has questions, then I can have him call you back.
Okay.
So what's the best number to reach you at?
215-280-3300.
280-3300?
Yeah. 215 area code.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll check with him, and then if we're interested or my client's interested in that, then I'll give you a call back.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Okay, all my words are coming out backwards today, Mike.
That's okay. Look, I'm the same way. I totally get it. So tell us what happened at the beginning there. So did she say that she would ask?
Oh, she said she would ask him, but I started out talking about what the company does instead of talking about, I kind of went backwards,
I love that approach.
I feel like, yeah. I've had kind of good luck with it before instead of going into the fact that they don't have a lot of equity in the house, and having to bring a check to closing. I kind of started with the solution instead of talking about the problem.
Yep. And Anna, one thing you'll recognize about Kerrie is she just cuts to the chase. There's no sense in beating around the bush. It's a stylistic thing. I kind of find myself doing the same thing. But for me, I've just found that every time an agent picks up the phone, they're always in a hurry until they're not,
And then they talk your ear off and you can't get rid of them.
Then you can't get rid of them. Yeah, exactly.
He did
But,
sound too friendly.
consider that a warm-up call. That's all.
Yeah. It helps to have the address right, though, when you talk. Cody, hey, my name is Kerrie. I'm calling about your listing on Turn Turtle Court. I work with buyers that are having a little bit of difficulty getting approved for a mortgage, mostly because they work for themselves or, they have a cash income, not because of credit reasons. And we usually buy it for them. And I was just calling to see, if you thought that your owners there might be interested in doing some sort of seller financing or terms with us.
With the situation they've got going on, they will need to get it off of their debt to income and all of that stuff, unfortunately.
Oh, okay. They're buying something else.
Yeah. So they've got a couple homes that we're looking at, and one we want to make an offer on. We just can't make an offer. Well, I guess it's from a builder, and they won't accept an offer until we've got their home under contract.
I see.
Sell.
I see.
Yeah.
And is the builder providing the mortgage?
It's the builder's lender. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, we do have a couple, workarounds with that if that's something that they would consider. I mean, one of the things that we can do is we can do like a lease, purchase. Do they need to do they have a lot of equity?
No, they don't, unfortunately.
Okay. And do you think they would have to come to the closing table with a check?
No, they'll be able to. They'll be able to make a little bit.
Okay.
They only bought it a couple years ago. They'll be able to make a little bit, but it's not going to be like, they're not like walking away with a bunch of money.
Okay, I got you. Because one of the things that we can do in that case is we would take care of your commission, and then we could do a lease, the lease purchase, for the mortgage company. What we'd like to do is we'd like to buy it and take over the mortgage, and we do this through a loan servicing company. And they're licensed by the state, and they keep all the records, so it does come off their debt to income. It does take about.
Is it escrow specialists?
No, it's not. We have a couple different ones. There's Southern Loan Servicing, and then there's Westar.
Gotcha.
And so,
yeah, I'm happy to talk with them about it again.
mm-hmm.
They are. I shouldn't say they. I should say the husband
Mm-hmm. Uh-huh.
is very risk averse.
Okay.
And he's unfortunately either heard or read some horror stories.
Yeah.
That have got him a little bit freaked out.
Mm-hmm.
On anything in the non-traditional side.
Yeah.
I have a couple that I've closed in the last couple months that were, not traditional financing. They're an aspect of subject to and seller financing or whatever, but he does not seem to really want to discuss that a whole lot.
Okay. Well, one of the things. There are a couple different ways that we could do it so that it's more safe for him.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously he's got to, he's got to want to pull the trigger, so to speak.
Yeah, exactly.
It depends on the motivation, I guess. As far as how they really want to move. If they really want to move, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you.
And so
people were all a little bit more open to non-traditional options.
Well, it's good that you are. That's half the battle right there. As far as some agents, and I'm an agent myself, they get a little caught up in protecting their seller, and meanwhile their seller is having to carry two mortgages and, don't have any.
Honestly, I don't think it even really comes down to agents trying super hard to protect their seller. I think it comes down more to they don't know enough about it, and they don't want to look like an idiot.
Yeah.
And so they just tell their client, "Oh, it's not a good idea," because then they don't have to field questions that they don't know answers to.
Yeah, that's a good point, for sure. Yeah, it's just the difference in the interest rates these days and the price of things. It's just really hard for some buyers.
Absolutely.
And it's, then you have inventory problems, and now we have, just like a little bit of shifting in the market. So there's too much uncertainty, I'd have to say.
Yeah.
Well, do you have,
I agree with you.
do you have other properties that you think, that might work, other sellers that might think about this?
So I've got one that they would have been perfect for it. I don't know what it is. I've tried talking them through it a few times because we've gotten a couple seller finance offers on their home. Honestly, they were good offers. My client they just do not want to consider that as an option for some reason. I've tried kind of like walking them through, like, hey, like let's talk about the potential downsides, and they just really don't want to consider that right now, I guess.
Yeah. Because it's got to be a win-win for both sides. I mean, we put protections in there, for the seller, because obviously we're going to be turning around and selling it to a buyer, so we're not going to be missing any payments. If our buyer is not performing, then we're going to perform for them, just to protect the seller. So we're happy to put in those, protections for the seller. Well, I guess why don't you have a conversation with Mr. Seller and see what he has to say? See if he's open to it.
Yeah, like I said, I'll address it with him again. I mean, with all of my clients, that's one of the first conversations we have, is just because we've been able to make some great deals work over the last year or so with some non-traditional financing options. And so I talk them all through it pretty well. Like, hey, there's some really cool things we can do here and here, get you a little bit more of what you want on this end. And some are just really not up for what they view as like uncertainty or risk, I guess. But
yeah, I mean, it's
the ones that are, we get them great solutions.
Yeah. Well, that's good. That's the rewarding part. But I think with the market being so good, for so long, some of it is a mindset with the sellers that they just sort of have to, really want the solution.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. Well, keep me in mind. Keep my number, and if you think that's something he will do, or if something else pops up, give me a call back. And if it's okay with you, I'll follow up with you maybe in a couple of weeks, a month.
Okay, that'd be great.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cody. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Good call, Kerrie. Anna, I'm really curious what you took away from Kerrie's phone call.
Gotta get myself unmuted. I love that you had that camaraderie. You built that right away with him. He was knowledgeable about subto and seemed almost sad that these sellers don't want to use this method. He's going to be a fantastic resource, I think, to build a relationship for the future and other listings that he has.
100%. That's exactly what I took away from it too. Kerrie, what do you think?
That's really the first time I've ever talked to somebody that was familiar with subto and was open to it and thinks it's a win-win. So I think he'll definitely be a good resource. And yeah, I mean, I think it was okay. I just kind of ironed out the kinks in my brain a little tiny bit.
It takes some time to dust that rust off, It's not easy. I totally get that. I think that to further on his point, I think that this agent specifically, just because he does actually have that conversation with his sellers about creative finance, is first of all a diamond in the rough, right? What we would call a unicorn. And someone like that who's willing to put other options in front of their clients that might benefit them, you don't come across that often. So you really have to grab a hold of that agent and build that relationship for the long term. One question that I think that I would have asked, just to clarify, and I may have missed it just because it wasn't very loud on my side.
Yeah, it's not very.
But I would have clarified what the concern was from the seller. Like specifically, is it now here's the thing. Here's the crazy thing about asking that question is we know what it's going to be.
Right.
We have a really good idea, but just for them to vocalize it and to put it out there, what that does for me, at least on my side of the phone call, is give me an opportunity to talk it out with them, commiserate with them, say, hey, that's such a great point. In fact, if I were in the seller's shoes, I'd be concerned about the same exact thing. If you ever want me to show you what we do to mitigate some of that risk, I'm happy to do that. That's putting it off, or you can just handle it directly and say, one of the things that we do to mitigate some of that risk is this, and this, right? This was an interesting one, Anna, because the seller's builder on their next home needed them to be under contract to qualify them for their next home. So what do you think that means?
Probably the financing, having the reserve cash, not having this on their credit scores, I would imagine.
That's exactly where my brain goes, right? It's a debt to income issue. The sellers need this debt off of their DTI so that they can qualify for the new loan. Kerrie, where you took the call was great. It was the perfect response.
I think I didn't think about that because, he started out by saying, that they can't get approved, that the builder's mortgage company would not approve them without, it off their debt to income. So I never even asked about what the seller's issue was,
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, because it's easy for us to assume a lot of these things just because you've been in the business for a long time, you understand how these things work. For the sake of the conversation and where we need to take it, I think it's really beneficial for us to identify what the issues are, not assume, right?
Yes.
And that's the hardest thing it's the hardest thing for people who are experienced in it. It's less hard for people who are less experienced in it, which is actually an advantage, I think, personally.
Yeah, I agree.
Because asking that question of what exactly is the issue, kind of goes back to what the seller's concern is. But in this situation is, why wouldn't the seller qualify for a new loan? That's like the inexperienced way to ask that question, so that he tells you it's debt to income. They just need to be able to qualify from a debt to income standpoint. And just putting that out there gives you the opportunity to address it.
Yeah.
So, in this case, Kerrie, what kind of loan was this?
This was a conventional,
Okay, cool.
but it had a 5.3 interest rate.
Okay, cool. So, in this situation, it could be a really good homestead type of exit, right? You could take it sub 2, sell it to a homestead buyer who would rather have a 5.3% interest rate, for example, than a 7% interest rate. That's the value that we're kind of providing to the market there. From a debt to income standpoint, if you were to put a lease purchase into place with a new conventional, I believe they're going to take about 75% of the total rental income and apply that towards the debt to income as income to offset that DTI issue. So that's helpful, right? But that all has to be in place before the close of the new property. It gets a little technical.
Normally what I like to suggest is still purchasing it, but to provide the lease just for the mortgage company.
Yeah. Yep. And you need that. And you actually need a fully executed lease, like money changing hands. Typically, the loan officers are going to want to see money in the seller's bank account. So
Copy of the check.
that's so it's a fun process, but it's interesting. Let's not spend too much time on here. Let's try to make a couple more phone calls here in the next 20 minutes or so. Kerrie, do you have any questions or any thing you want to mention about that phone call at all, or Anna?
No, just your suggestion was good.
I think it was a really good phone call. It was like 4 or 5 levels up from that first phone call. You're dusting the rust off.
Yeah. I'm getting back in the saddle slowly.
That's exactly right. The coffee's kicking in, Anna, right?
Yeah.
Right. Jeremy, hey, my name is Kerrie Deragon. I'm calling about your listing on 3780 West.
Hey, yeah, thanks for calling.
Sure. Thank you for answering.
Yeah, it gets more rare sometimes these days.
I know. It's very true. I was just noticing that I don't know what whether your sellers, do they have a lot of equity? It doesn't look like they have a lot of equity in the home.
I don't understand why you're asking that.
Yeah, when you might not know off the top of your head. Let me just tell you what I'm calling because our company, we provide mortgages for buyers that are having a hard time getting qualified, not because of credit or income really, but because they have they work for themselves or they get a lot of cash income. And so we always look for properties where the seller might be interested in selling on seller finance, or by letting us take over the mortgage and buy the property and then sell it to somebody that is having trouble qualifying. And I was just wondering if that is something that might interest your seller.
They need the money for their new house that they're already under contract on.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, that's good. They're under contract with a house. That's good.
Yeah, so they need the money. Seller finance is always a good deal for the buyer. I'm going to make an offer right now on the seller finance property, actually.
Oh, you are? Oh, wow.
So hopefully I'll be able to see how it goes.
Yeah. Depending on, we can certainly give them the equity, or that they need, depending on how much it is, I guess. Or we can make payments on it. I guess it just depends on how much they need, and if they would be open to something like that. Do they have to close? They just have to get their house under contract before, buying their new house? Or they're okay to carry both?
No, they're not. Otherwise, we wouldn't have to sell it.
Well,
We'd have to sell
you
it.
might want to sell it.
Yeah, they have to sell it. So
Okay. All right. Well, I can, kind of check back with you and see if that's something that they would be interested if we gave them, the equity that they have, and then, purchased it and took over the payments, and we can provide a lease for them to show that it's not all their debt to income.
I'll run it by them, but the chance is probably 5%.
Okay. All right. Do you have any other listings where, they might be open to that?
No, I don't have any other listings right now.
Okay. How's your market?
What market are you in?
Well, I'm outside of Philadelphia. That's where my physical location is, but we have properties all over.
Okay. Yeah. So our market's just humming along. Just buyers and sellers are moving properties. They're taking a little longer, but interest rates haven't come down. So
yeah, yep. Well, that's good.
It's a good market to obtain seller finance if they got the low rate locked in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. We still have inventory problem here. We still have very low inventory. But on the other hand, if your house isn't quite perfect, then it's sitting a little bit.
Yeah, sounds good. Well, thanks. Have a good day.
Okay, thank you. You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Kind of cut you off at the end there, huh?
Yeah, probably because the way I started asking that question.
He was very short.
The equity question?
What's that? The equity question,
Yeah. Yeah, I liked it, actually, because it threw him off.
Ah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. You're right.
I like those things because it's a whole pattern interrupt, right? Your call is very different from every other phone call he's gotten. And either they're going to go one direction or the other, right? They're going to hang up. I don't want to talk to this person because I'm scared. I don't know where this is going to go and I'm unsure about it. Or they're going to hang in there because of curiosity, right? It's nice to kind of put that pattern interrupt in there to see where he goes with it. He mentioned that he was doing some sort of seller finance, right?
Yeah, he's going to make an offer on another property that's seller finance.
Yeah. That's really cool. That could have been a direction that you take the call too, right? Is what do you do? I know that you're an agent, you're a listing agent, but how do you invest?
Yes, that's good point. Really good point.
And have you ever done a deal like this that I'm explaining, for example? Before I go to Anna, I just want to get this out before I forget. In your introduction, Kerrie,
Yes.
what I kept thinking to myself is, where is the value for the seller and for the agent? Because what you're saying is what you do is you provide the opportunity for home ownership for people who can't qualify, which I think is great, right? You can lead with that. I think you have to tie it into, and this benefits the seller, how, right?
Yeah.
And all it takes is, what we make sure of is that we maximize the seller's equity. And that's exactly why I'm calling Mr. Agent, because it did look like the sellers were in a tight equity position, whether my data is right or not. If that is a concern, we make sure to get the sellers their entire equity. We make sure to pay your commission, and we make sure to pay all the closing costs. Again, all of these reasons just to make sure that the sellers do walk away with the most amount of cash possible.
So many things to remember.
Yeah.
Really good.
I think if you tie those two in, the intro is going to be a lot stronger.
Yep. And I think it was because of the way he reacted to the equity question, it just made me defensive. You know what I mean? And I completely backed off where I should have gone forwards a little bit more
Yeah, maybe.
with that.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't get that out of your repertoire, though. If you want to continue to use that to throw people off, because I like to do the same thing. Sometimes I'll get a little spicy. Usually it happens at 4 p.m. for me, where I'll have made phone calls all day long. I'll be upset that for some reason I haven't gotten a deal that day, and I'll very explicitly say something that makes it known that I know something about the property that they either don't or they don't think I know. Right? Like, hey, it looks like they have a 3% VA loan. They currently owe $282,500 on the property. That's when I get spicy. But I don't think it's a bad thing either. I think that sometimes you have to submit to agents a little bit, or at least play to their ego is probably a better way to say it. But sometimes you also have to feel free to push back, because they are going to respect you more if you do.
Yeah.
Some of them.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Anna, what did you think about Kerrie's phone call?
It was interesting. He seemed almost a little hostile at times, and he almost didn't seem like he wanted to talk to you after you mentioned what you're wanting to do. You did push through that, and so that was good. I am glad that he was answering the phone. I haven't made contact with anybody yet. It's gone to voicemail, but it's certainly a lot different from your last call.
Yeah, for sure. I leave messages because the last time people called me right back.
Okay.
I'd be sitting here talking and all of a sudden my phone would start to ring, which was good. So I just leave messages that I had a question.
So rather
about
than
their listing.
So rather than doing the double tap, you just leave a message? Or do you do the double tap
Yeah.
and leave a message?
Well, I forget to do the double tap, so I just leave a message.
I think both work. I think the double tap works really well for sellers. I think for agents, they already get a lot of phone calls.
Yeah. They're not
Just kind
gonna
of the
call
way
back.
my brain works. But I think that text messaging also really helps a lot. So if you're ever calling from your cell phone, what I'll do is I'll write a text message the first time. Hey, John, this is Mike. I'm calling about your listing. Call me back. Right. So that the only thing I have to copy and paste, I can copy the whole thing and paste it. But the only thing I have to change is the word John. Right. I'm calling about your brand new listing. And we were on a phone call on it one time. Kerrie and I were a couple weeks back, where she got probably 3 phone calls back in a row.
Wow.
It was just hammered. And they were all really great phone calls. So I do think that leaving some sort of that breadcrumb is helpful.
Okay, that's
So
good to
it
know.
is a little harder because then you're looking at the number and you're like, oh shoot, which house is this?
Who is this?
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting that you say that. Every time that you hear Pace make phone calls, he never wants to know anything about it, because what he wants to do is ultimately ask questions that are genuine, not fed to him before, or going into it with some sort of predetermined strategy, right? So the whole call is genuine because of a lack of knowledge. I don't like picking up a phone call and then not knowing which property I'm calling on, right? Especially, hey, you were calling on my brand new listing. Which one? I've made 50 phone calls today to 45 different agents, you know.
Yeah.
But it's also, don't let that stop you from making phone calls on the move. Anna, let's see if we can get you on a phone call.
Okie dokie. I have one queued up, so make that call. On Haddonfield Court. This gorgeous house.
Yes. Did you get in it? Or are you looking from outside?
I'm looking from outside. I just,
Okay.
yeah.
It's prettier inside.
Hi.
Got a new roof. It's in great shape.
Right. What? Can you tell me a little bit about why the sellers are selling it, or why they're moving?
Yeah, they're moving. They're in the military and they'll be relocating.
Okay, I see.
Are you a realtor or are you an individual?
I'm a little of both. I am a licensed broker, although I haven't been using it, and but I'm mostly calling for myself and my partner. I was wondering if it doesn't seem like they have a whole lot of equity in the house at this time. I don't know if that's correct or not, but are they interested in? I mean, what are their motivation at this time? Are they interested in possibly doing more of a creative finance kind of opportunity?
No. We've got an offer that's supposed to be coming. You're not VA, are you?
No, I'm not.
Okay. Yeah, they do have a VA loan that could be assumable, but they don't have any interest in that. I think they'll have a good enough interest with it to be able to sell it.
Okay.
In this market, I don't see any creative financing coming into it. Now, if you called me and it took a long time to sell, they might sell it.
Sure.
So I don't know if they'll get back here and if they want something this far away.
Okay. Do you come across any homes that, or have listings that are on the market where they might be interested in something like that? What we try to do is purchase homes that will help the.
Probably not my market. Probably not.
Not in your market? Okay.
Yeah, not in my wheelhouse.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much. I will keep this in mind and follow up with you if it's still on the market in 30 days or so, and see how things are going.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye. That was a disaster.
Why?
I just fell over myself.
But that's okay. That's okay. Explain a little bit more.
I don't like being on the phone. That's part of my problem too. I'm such an introvert that it's just hard to get on, to try to, I don't know. She was very friendly and open, and it's a gorgeous house. It looks like fairly new construction. And I don't see it being on the market very long. Built in 2016, yeah, on a quarter of an acre. But VA loan, as she said, and it's only got about 12% equity.
So, Anna, normally I would dive into diagnosing this phone call. I'd probably ask Kerrie what she thought of the phone call to help you improve on your phone calls. Mm-hmm. What I heard you say right after the phone call, and I don't know if this was just because you felt like the call didn't go well or not, but you said that you don't like making phone calls. So why are you making phone calls? because you. No, but that's the thing though. You don't have to. I'm diving in here a little bit on something that's totally different than why we're here in the first place, but I think it's important because you don't have to do something. Kerrie, I would love your opinion on this. Feel free to jump in whenever you want, by the way. Mm-hmm. You never have to do something in this business that either you don't want to do or you don't feel like you're good at, because your strengths are definitely there. It may just not be in calling, right? Mm-hmm. For example, if you wanted to start buying wrap deals, you can just have people bring you opportunities. It's a whole lot easier to make a phone call to a wholesaler than it is to an agent.
Yeah.
Hey, send me your deals. I'm a buyer, right? As opposed to let me learn the process of selling subto to a real estate agent. You know, you might be paying $5,000 to $10,000 more for that deal, but who cares in the long run? The amount of time and energy that you're saving by not making that phone call is going to allow you to have energy to make phone calls with private money partners and wholesalers and have real conversations as opposed to struggle in your head, at least through the phone call with the agent. Kerrie, what do you think?
No, I think that's a good point. I think that you were a little bit too, you sounded timid.
Nervous?
You know what I mean? Like even if you, yeah. And so even if you are, try to sound a little bit more, it's hard to say that, I guess, maybe just because like I always make jokes at myself, you know, while I'm on the call just to kind of make them feel a little bit comfortable, you know, like getting the words out and that kind of stuff. But I think you don't have to know what you're doing, but if you sound like you do, that's half the battle, I think. You know, then you automatically get credibility. You know what I mean? And if they ask a question that you don't understand or know how to answer, you can always, you know, say that you haven't had enough coffee today. You know what I mean? Like, or something like that, you know? That's what I thought. I just thought you were just a little timid, you know?
Yeah. You know, when I call notary assignments, loan signing appointments, I have no problem making those calls and building the report when I'm with them because it's like one or two people or so, you know, with me, and that's easy. But
you just have to keep doing it. You just have to keep doing it. The first time I got the call, I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is happening. You know what I mean? Like I was just like, I was so afraid, and I just, you know, I just kept doing it, and then you just get to the point where you're just deconditioned, you know. And you can tell a lot by the person in the first 10 seconds what kind of a mood they're in, you know.
And vice versa, too, right?
Yeah.
So, for example, if you worked on your first 10 seconds of a phone call, it's the rest of the phone call is going to go a whole lot better if you decide to choose for yourself to make phone calls, right? And that kind of goes back to what I brought up before is you, depending on what you want to do, Anna, you don't have to force yourself into something that isn't a strength of yours, because I can guarantee that there's a strength there that is going to benefit you in whatever avenue you choose to go down. You know, it doesn't have to be cold calling agents about low equity deals. You know, you're a really likable person. I had fun talking to you at Squad Up, and I think that you build really strong relationships because you're really likable.
Thank you.
And you know, it's depending on what you want, you just have to figure out who supplies what you want and who can help you building what it is that you want to build.
And also,
and then put those pieces together.
and what can I provide? I mean, I've done so many things and have a lot of knowledge, but I don't feel like I have anything I can offer, you know, and that's...
Sometimes it's just the work.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just putting in the work. You don't have to know everything. There
But
are...
you have to believe you can help them.
I know.
Correct.
And I just haven't
Correct.
found...
Believe you can help them.
Yep. And,
Just
you know,
imagine that I'm sorry, Mike, go ahead.
No, please, Kerrie, you go.
I was just going to say, imagine that, you know, they want to buy another house or they have to move and they can't sell this one, and you're their only answer. You know, you have to imagine that you have something that can help them. And believing in that is, I think, is once you believe that, you'll be able to say it much easier. You know,
On a
think
quick
about
note-
that in terms of. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was just on a totally sidebar issue that quickbot.ai, I think, is something that I saw in one of your recordings, Mike, and as well as quick forms or something like that, quick contracts.
Oh, quick contracts, yeah.
What are your thoughts on those? Are those things that are worth pursuing for leads and that sort of thing?
Okay, so Quick Contracts is a platform that I built where it basically just allows wholesalers for cash deals, not creative deals, to very quickly and for free, using Pace's contract, create a contract.
Okay.
And so basically you just go through like 5 quick forms, put in your name, your email address, where the deal is, those sorts of things. And then it spits out, it sends you an email with a PDF contract. It's very simple, easy. It's just kind of like a gift back to the community. So
Okay.
use it however you want. There's a purchase contract there, an assignment contract there also, but it's only for cash right now. It's not for creative.
Okay.
The Rocketbot Leads.ai, that's a whole separate thing. That's a platform that we've partnered with where they just pull data earlier than everybody else pulls it. And so depending on your strategy, either it can help you get ahead of everyone, or it just gets you in the door a little bit sooner than it would with PropStream, for example.
And what are your thoughts about prop.ai?
I think prop.ai is a work in progress, and I think that it's great if you have a lot of things, a lot of people, a lot of leads that you want to contact in mass, and filter out the ones who raise their hand. Personally, I would rather be on the front end of a phone call building that relationship as opposed to an AI bot that, sometimes it doesn't even pick up fast enough to really. I mean, shoot, Kerrie is an owner. She was an owner of Prop AI, so I don't mean to speak
No, that's okay.
to the owner of Prop.ai. I think it's fine.
I wasn't the creator.
I think Prop.ai is fine. I think that it's very hard to replace real human interaction, especially if you're going to agents directly. Just my 2 cents.
Yeah, I really appreciate you, Mike.
Anna, do you have a few minutes after this to hang out for maybe like 10 minutes?
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. Kerrie, thank you. Anna, thank you guys so much for coming today. I know that we're all exhausted. Next week's going to be a lot more energy filled in general because of our squat up detox, if you will.
We landed in San Jose last night at almost 5 o'clock and then had to drive 3 hours. So
Oh, wow. Anna, what is your number? I'll text you and we can stay in contact.
805-423-4043.
Okay. Excellent. Nice meeting you today.
You too.
All right, you guys. Thank you guys so much. Anna, stay back for a second. Kerrie, leave this open for just about a minute or so while this processes, and we'll see you guys next time.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.